Hey there guys, how are you today and welcome to a brand new video. So, as you may have noticed, we are in the F1 summer break, meaning we are halfway through the 2018 Formula 1 season. Now, as you may remember, just before the start of the season, just when the cars were being launched, I made a video where I asked Twitter for their predictions for the season. They gave them to me, I made a video on it, so now, let's review these predictions. See whether they're going to be right or wrong as we are at the halfway point of 2018 Formula 1 season. So let's click play on the video and see what was said. Hey guys, how are you today and welcome to my F1 2018 season predictions. And instead of making predictions myself like I did last year when I said McLaren would be on the podium, that didn't go too well, I am going to ask Twitter, I have asked Twitter even, and here I'm going to talk about the responses I got. So, Laurie, I will leave all the links in the description, but Laurie has predicted a few things. He said that the Force India will get a podium, and I disagree with that, to be honest. I'm sorry to say, I wish they would. Again, but I know in the second year of regulation, the top few teams are always able to put away, as they've got more used to it, and I don't think Force India are going to be any higher this season. Interestingly, Laurie also says that Hamilton won't be the World Drivers' Champion in 2018. Look, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's hard to tell, really. That's the fun thing about this video. Testing hasn't happened. Cars haven't been launched yet. How do we know? But yeah, he reckons Hamilton won't be the World Drivers' Champion. So the question is, who do you think it will be? If it's not going to be Lewis Hamilton. And he also says that McLaren will finish 4th in the Constructors. And with that, he says that in general, Force India v Renault v McLaren is going to be exciting. I agree with that. I think it could be, but I think Force India, I'm not going to say they'll struggle, but I think they might find other teams catching up and the top teams putting away from them this season, sadly, and I think they might only come in 6th place. So let's review now Laurie's predictions. He said that Force India will get a podium in 2018. Of course, it is still possible, but I don't think it's going to happen, especially not in a normal race. I'd have to take a crazy race. They're not. I would say they have gone a bit backwards. Of course, they started the season really badly, but we'll have to see how it goes. But I think of the midfield teams more likely to get a podium is going to be Renault or Haas, and of course he didn't even mention Haas in those predictions. He also said that Hamilton won't win the World Championship. Of course, he is leading the World Championship at the moment. He's in good form. But it's hard to tell, really. It can all turn around again. Of course, there is a stat about the winner of the Hungarian Grand Prix not going on to win the World Championship. So maybe that's going to come back to haunt Lewis Hamilton. But I guess it is either going to be Hamilton or Vettel. But Laurie did say that generally the midfield battling is going to be very exciting. And I would say that has come true. So well done there. Of course, McLaren aren't as high up as we'd hoped. But midfield has been pretty exciting. Now, let's move on. Nicole says that Lewis Hamilton will be the World Drivers' Champion, so bit of controversy there between Laurie and Nicole. And yeah, I guess he has to be considered one of the favourites. It sounds like he's had a tough winter with all this whole Dressgate stuff, but that doesn't really matter, does it? It's no excuse, that's for sure. And be interested to see how he does. And then he also says that Sauber, who of course now got a connection to Alfa Romeo, with Eric, will improve. Although my concern about that is that Ericsson is still going to be there. And well, I think on my channel I have talked about Ericsson quite a bit, as we know. And yeah, he's not good, is he, Marcus Ericsson? So I think that could hold him back. But I guess we'll have to wait and see with that one. But they do have Charles Leclerc, so you never know. Be interesting to see how he does in the Alfa Romeo Sauber. I guess that is the thing to look forward to, one of the things to look forward to. And then he also says, talking of Leclerc actually, he reckons that Nicole reckons that Kimi Räikkönen will end up retiring and Charles Leclerc will get the seat. We know that Leclerc is a Ferrari young driver, so it's fairly feasible, although Kvyat is the official reserve driver for Ferrari these days, amazingly. So I guess we have to see how that one goes. But I would personally like to see Kimi himself be more competitive in the 2018 Formula 1 season. And Nikel's actually left me his predictions for the constructors, so I'll go through it. He thinks the order will be Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Renault, Force India, Sauber Alfa Romeo, Haas, Williams, and Toro Rosso, who of course have the Honda engine in 2018.
So
yeah,
Nikel, Seb, as he's called, has made some very interesting predictions, which to an extent have been correct. Fine, so he's saying that Hamilton is going to win the World Championship. Of course, we can't tell, but he is winning it at the moment, so we're certainly not wrong at the moment. And now this is where me and him disagreed, and he is right. So he said that Sauber Alfa Romeo actually do much better than in 2017, and that has been proven 100% right. In most of the races so far in 2018, they've been scoring points, thanks to both Leclerc and Ericsson. Maybe I wrote off Ericsson a little bit there in that video. Maybe I was wrong there. And he also talked about that how he thinks Kimi's going to retire at the end of the season and Leclerc will come in the car. I mean, that's not confirmed or nothing, but there's been loads of talk about it, so it's not a terrible prediction. And as for his constructors' predictions, well, I think he's probably got the top three right. And he's predicted Williams doing badly, fairly correctly, but I would say he underestimated Toro Rosso, who have had some strong races. And he certainly underestimated Haas, who are probably the fourth fastest team in 2018. Now let's move on.
Next, it's Robbie, also a YouTuber. He reckons that Esteban Ocon will get a podium. And again, Ocon is a great driver, and I want Force India to do well. But I'm not so confident for them in the 2018 season. I think the other teams will be able to find more time this year. That's my opinion. And he reckons there's going to be a three-way fight for the constructors. I think that's possible. There could be, theoretically, there could be a five-way fight if you include Renault and McLaren. But I don't think that would materialise. But he reckons that you have Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari all fighting for the constructors. And that sounds exciting, but we've been saying this, we said this last year after Red Bull and Ferrari were quite strong at the end of 2016 and never really materialised. So I'm hopeful for a three-way fight for the constructors, which could mean a six-way fight for the drivers, but I wouldn't put any money on it, that is for sure. He also says that Kimi is going to win a race and fight for the championship. That it would be great, but will Ferrari allow that? Especially if they're really fighting for the championship? I'm not so sure. Now let's move on.
Robert talked about Esteban Ocon being on the podium. That really has not materialised. Of course, I don't think Force India are going to be getting a podium. I don't think anyone predicted how much financial trouble they were going to be in by this point of the season. But, of course, with Lawrence Stroll helping him get out of administration, the future is interesting for them. And he's also been talking about the three-way fight for the constructors for the championship. I think in some races we have seen all top three teams fighting for the win. Of course, China is a good example. But it hasn't always... It's not been like that every single race. Sometimes Red Bull have been a bit off the pace. Occasionally, like in Monaco, Mercedes have been a little bit off the pace. So I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think Red Bull have strong enough reliability to be able to keep up with Mercedes and Ferrari in the rest of the season. He also talks about Raikkonen winning a race and fighting for the championship. He may still win a race, but I don't think Ferrari are going to allow him to fight for the championship unless Vettel suddenly quits F1 or something. So yeah, that's not going to happen, guys.
Milner, KTM Milner, as he's also known, says that Verstappen is going to retire for more races than Fernando Alonso. I guess that is possible. It depends how the Renault engine does. I guess they're going to have the same engines, aren't they? So I'm not really sure what to say there. I guess that's just luck, isn't it? I don't really know how I can give an opinion on that. Although maybe Verstappen is more prone to crashes, so you could say that. Carl Milner says Hamilton will be world champion for the 5th time. And he reckons that Kvyat is going to end up in the Ferrari driver's seat, replacing Kimi Raikkonen, I assume. I think that's probably a bit optimistic, but it would be a good story. But, you know, Kvyat he's not good, is he? What on earth he's doing in the Ferrari test drive role, I have no idea. That's my opinion.
So we've talked
Moving
about
on now
there,
to
obviously
Josh
Fiat potentially getting the seat. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if anyone's going to get a Ferrari seat, if Kimi Räikkönen does leave, it's going to be Charles Leclerc, because he has been fantastic this season in the Sauber Alfa Romeo. We've also talked there about Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, but Verstappen having more retirements than Fernando Alonso. I'm not sure the stat on that. Maybe, can someone look that up? Tell me, but I would say it's fairly equal. Verstappen has had a few retirements this season, but so has Fernando Alonso. Not so sure on that one. Maybe tell me. So yeah, now let's move on.
Known as the Moaning Yorkshireman. He reckons that Lewis Hamilton will win the championship, the blessed one, of course. He reckons that the Force Indies will be crashing again. That's possible. Perez and Ocon. Will their rivalry be renewed? Of course, they sort of calmed down at the end of last season, but now there's more to fight for again. They could do, and it could be interesting to see how Force India deal with that. Personally, I hate it when there's team orders, but we'll have to see. And he says that Sauber Alfa Romeo will still be lost. And maybe with Marcus Ericsson, he has a point.
Going on again to
Moving on
Josh, who was Moaning Yorkshireman, is now on the Overstint Network. I'm sure you've all watched Cruel. Talked about how he reckons Hamilton will win the World Championship. He talked about how he reckons the Force Indias are going to be crashing again. And I don't think the Force Indias have been as bad this season as they have before. So I think it's going to be better. Of course, they've got bigger issues than their drivers crashing into each other, of course, to the financial issues. And again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Force India. Maybe Josh, tell me what do you want to happen with Force India. Tell me in the comments if you're watching. So it's getting very interesting there. And I guess now we have to, yet again, move on.
To Carlos Melez, he says that Verstappen won't win a race. Personally, I think he will, and I reckon they could be in the fight for the championship. I think it could be a Mercedes versus Red Bull season. I think Ferrari might fall back again. That would be my prediction. And I reckon Verstappen's going to be in the fight for the championship, and it could be a Hamilton v Verstappen season with Ricciardo a rank outsider. So I reckon Verstappen will win the race. So sorry there. He says Alonso will finally be happy with the engine. I guess so. I'm sure the Renault would improve yet again. But we know the Renault does have reliability issues. I can certainly imagine that the Australian Grand Prix, the Renault failing Fernando Alonso, that would just be the ultimate irony. And he says there'll be many failures for the Toro Rosso team. And with the Honda engine, I wouldn't be too surprised.
Interesting discussion there about who will be challenging Mercedes for the World Championship. So I reckon it's going to be Red Bull, but I think I was wrong, and because here they said that Verstappen isn't going to win the race. That's already been proven wrong. Verstappen has won a race in 2018, but it is a Mercedes with Ferrari championship yet again. Let's be honest, Red Bull just too held back by their reliability issues, and I would say that Alonso isn't fully happy with his engine or his car anyway, because ultimately they're still very much in the midfield and nowhere near challenging for podiums or whatever. And he's been complaining just as much as these last few seasons. And as for Toro Rosso, well, I think Honda have surprised us a bit this season. They haven't been doing as badly, but there have been some niggling issues for the Toro Rosso team.
Now to Jamie183, he reckons that Verstappen will get the title. I would say that is possible. I would personally predict Hamilton to get it again, but I reckon his main rival this year will be Max Verstappen. He also says that Hülkenberg would get a podium, and I guess Renault will be more in the fight for podiums this year, but I think it's going to take a crazy race for guys like in the Renault and McLaren or the Force India to be on the podium at all. And he also says that McLaren will still be awful, maybe 5th place in the constructors at best. So he also gave me some predictions for the results of the constructors, so I'll read them to you. He goes Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, Renault, Force India, McLaren, Haas, Toro Rosso, Williams, and Alfa Romeo Sauber. I would say that's probably not too far off, actually.
So of course there's more discussion of a Hamilton v Verstappen title fight, but again hasn't materialised. Of course they did have a bit of a run-in Bahrain, where Hamilton called Verstappen a dickhead, but that was pretty much it. That hasn't been a Hamilton vs Verstappen title fight, but maybe in 2019. So also we talked about that Hülkenberg maybe getting a podium. That hasn't materialised. I don't think Renault are quite as good as we'd hoped they'd be, which is sad because it means there's no four-way title fight. Imagine if that hadn't materialised. And as for his predictions for the constructors, I would say again he's underestimating Haas a bit. I think we all did that. No one expected Haas to do as well as they have been. And let's be honest, Haas have made quite a few big mistakes this season. Of course, the pit stops in Australia, and generally having Grosjean in the car is a mistake in itself. So, yeah, that hasn't gone well for a lot of people doing these predictions. And yeah, Haas have probably shocked us all in 2018.
And then, who else there? Adam Joe says Williams will only come 9th, so that's agreeing with Jamie 183, interestingly. And yeah, I think Williams are going to fall back again. I think they got a pretty crappy lineup in Lance Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin, but I guess we have to see how they do. Of course, Stroll in his second season, and Sirotkin in his first proper season in F1. Be interesting to see how he does, but you know, paid drivers, it never ends well, does it? Apart from Maldonado winning one race. And he also says Ocon will get a podium. Again, I don't think Force India are going to be on the podium this year at all. I hope they will, but I don't think so. And he says that Lewis Hamilton is going to win the title.
So again, more talk there about Force India being on the podium. Again, I don't think that's not going to materialise. I can't see it happening. It'd be a lovely story though, considering all the financial trouble they're in. He has though predicted Williams quite well, saying that they're going to be really struggling this season. And I think Williams has shocked us by how shit they have been in 2018. I think they are way off the pace by a bit too much, I would say. And yeah, I don't see how Williams are going to get anything at all in the rest of the season. Let's move on.
Constructor predictions, let's read this to you. Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, McLaren, Renault, Force India, Haas, Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Williams, and Toro Rosso. So slightly different to some of the other guys, but not too different. He seems to agree with me that Force India are going to fall back a bit, as well as Williams. And nobody on here seems too confident for Toro Rosso.
So yeah, I think saying we're not too confident for Toro Rosso hasn't gone well. I think Pierre Gasly has been fantastic for Toro Rosso in 2018. So I think that's a big deal. And I think generally we've underestimated Toro Rosso and Haas. But Williams are probably doing worse than we thought. And probably the same for McLaren overall.
Another top 10 prediction. It's from JWF197 on Twitter. So he says Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Force India, Renault, Williams, Sauber, Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, and Haas, interestingly, for 10th place. So yeah, guys,
so there you go, guys. That was that video. And I think those final predictions kind of summed it up. I think Haas last and not predicting much for Alfa Romeo Sauber. I think we got those quite wrong. Lots of people have talked about Hamilton winning the title, which isn't far off. Actually, I don't think anyone there said that Vettel will win the title, which is interesting. Some people predicted great things for Alfa Romeo Sauber, which are coming true, but not everyone. And generally, we've underestimated Haas, I would say. And also, we've overestimated, sadly, Red Bull. So yeah, what did you guys think of your predictions? And what do you think is going to happen in the rest of the 2018 Formula 1 season? So yeah, guys, I will see you guys next time.